So this one's gonna be a tender one for me. And like every video or song, it just pours out of me. There's no edits, there's no performance. So let's go on this journey. Today I wanna bring together a lot of the mechanical concepts I've been talking about through my own life, like I usually do. And the reason that I do that is not to just talk to you about my life. It's to say, presence is a mechanical process, and I can talk to you about it in terms of like Kuramoto synchrony or decentralized harmony as a mechanical property. But really, what we're talking about is feeling love all the way down and being really here with yourself and with each other on the dance floor of life. And so hearing it from another human being's point of view in my actual life is a lot different than, me telling you about the mechanics, because with the mechanics, you have the tendency to keep it on paper and not really realize that anyone can step into the same process of mechanical synchrony with reality that we use the word presence for. Well, one special thing that's been happening to me recently is like, okay, so in my bloom period, I've gotten a lot more attention from men, and to this trans girl, that is like the most special thing of all time. Not that I needed their validation to know that I'm me, but there is a very real reality to the deepest parts of love are only unveiled in the shared dance. And I became myself after I lost everybody. I became myself under the most pressure of my whole life and still remain soft. So I've done the survival thing. I've done the I can do it on my own thing, because I had to reconstruct everything that was the real me, under the most pressure I could ever think of and the most loneliness, really. So then in my recent, months, really, I've connected with men in deeper and deeper ways across various spectrums, from like pure hunger sexual to like, actual sweetness. And to me, the quest to continue to like, saunter towards, a better life was not towards more money or more, success on paper, but more love in the realest way. And how do you feel love, but to be present here on the dance floor as yourself? And for me, a trans woman, there was so much delay layers between me and the ability to synchronize with reality. In other words, to be present with reality, that to love and be loved as me was almost the most difficult, signal goal of my life possible. Because in the environment that I came from, not only could I not even fully tell what I was, because it was under so many delay layers, but also the environment itself was almost perfectly constructed to not approach authenticity and not approach true soul-to-soul connection. Like many people in this world, they have trouble directly interfacing. They have trouble connecting through presence rather than through a mask or a performance. And so for me, my whole life, that idea to be me was already a journey to get to feel the part of me that doesn't hide, be on the outside and dance with reality, overtly, without stutter, without, trying to make myself smaller, without trying to put a mask on or perform in any way. And so I'm about a year and a half into my HRT, and it's an absolute blessing. It's like, you heard me say, it's silly for me to say, but it's worth it to say it in a video, that like, if someone offered me $1 billion trillion, even at the point of inception of HRT, or now, they're like, I'll give you $1 billion trillion to take back everything you've done now. And I'm like, absolutely not. There's nothing more important in this world than feeling your embodiment. Do you hear what presence is? Embodiment, your whole being connecting with what is reality. There's nothing more valuable, satiating to those vacancies that you try to fill with all these weird things in this life, money and drugs and like loveless sex and all these different things. And well, maybe if I buy one more thing, it'll fill that little hole. No, what you're really looking for is that feeling that you're connected here, yourself, and to love and be loved as you. Just let that settle in your heart for a moment. Do you really want something else in your life? Or does that really feel like the same ache that had me go through every fire that I needed to get to here, to get to me? And so now, getting a little deeper, I'll say that like, I have been talking to someone that messaged me, and I don't want to talk about the details, but I want to talk about the effect on me, even at whatever's happening right now. Like, not even trying to grasp it in any way, just to say, holy shit, this is like me, like in a tenderness soup. So you have to understand, I never got to have like whatever, like many trans women, the high school girl like asked me out to prom, like all that type of stuff. It always felt like I had like a straight jacketed self, like I couldn't fully express, and then they couldn't fully connect again to love and be loved as me. That was never quite a dance that I could complete because there was so much delay, there was so much buffering, there was so much corralling and controlling. And so now to experience what I believe to be the real beginnings of romance, and I believe it because it hums in me, like my bones become alive. Like I sit there and I go through like a roller coaster of emotions. He says something really simple and I'm just like, how did my entire body melt like I was like, butter in like a microwave, And it wasn't even, there was no performance, there's no mask, there's no showmanship, there's no prove it. It's just like real soul to soul touching. And for me, that's why it hits me so deep, because I never got to feel that. And yeah, I've been really happy about like the connection I've had with men recently, even like on more like eros, sensual, sexual type attention. And that's just as sacred to me, to be wanted in my body. There's no division in myself between what is sexual or sacred or whatever. As long as it meets the total you, nothing should be like segmented off. We should all be able to be our full, beautiful selves, as long as you're coherent. Coherent equals meeting reality with your full self and dancing with reality for what it is. Not trying to put it in a box, trying to meet it cleanly. That's coherence. And so yes, sexuality can be coherent. Anyway, I've really enjoyed that, and it's been really special for me. And part of me is like, ooh, like I know what I am, what they want me in these ways, right? But at the same time, I haven't felt something like this. And my brain, you can tell it's such like a verbose thing where I'm like, let me try to put this into a new poem or a new way to describe it, because my soul is screaming out with like, this is the most amazing thing. Like all the fires that I burned through. And we're just barely dancing. My hand was just barely extended and he barely wanted to take it to like dance with me on the dance floor. But feeling the tenderness and the realness, it's like every fire that I had ever walked through, I know why I walked through it. To love and be loved as me. Not for success, fame, money, hierarchy, power, status, but to feel that dance of that decentralized love without even making it mechanical, that place when both dancers on the dance floor seem like they're in effortless harmony, in their own polarities, in their own sovereignty. And that's the property that I'm going to begin to connect to here. Decentralized harmony is different nodes in like a oscillatory field. They study in oscillatory mechanics, dancing to the fullness of their own sovereignty. Do you see that? They don't get subsumed into each other. They don't like lose their sovereignty. They don't get controlled by the other one. They don't lose their own full depth of soul by melting into the other person to the point where they lose their own sovereignty. No, it's the opposite. In the shared dance, something beautiful happens. Something emerges that neither of them could have sort of danced on their own, even if they had their own most beautiful dance of all time. And that's really what decentralized harmony says, that the organizer is not a central organizer like a king on top, but when all dancers are dancing sovereignly or in their own soul, their own expression, their own way of dancing to the one rhythm. And that actually creates the mechanical property of organization that Kuramoto noticed and systems thinkers use to save people, whatever, in heart research and spiraling galaxies and the metronomes and the fireflies. And you've heard me say all of that, right? So, I mean, like, that's the mechanics, but I'm telling you the live version. The mechanics are not things on paper over there. The mechanics are what you can live as an experiential texture when you realize that love is what happens when the walls dissolve. And the walls don't dissolve to turn into sameness, because that wouldn't be decentralized harmony. The mechanical property itself says it's not a hive mind of sameness. It's a hive mind where there's no central organizer, because all the organisms, like the cells in your body, move to the same rhythm. Do you see that? As above, so below. And so anyway, bringing it back, like there's just little things that he says and I'm just like, my whole body melts at the same time. And then I feel how real it is on me. Like, like that actual, like to actually think that like, you know, look, I lost everyone. Like I had to go through so many nights where I didn't know if I was going to make it, screaming out, I still know what love is. And I know that someone will feel the same signal that I'm keeping alive in my bones. And like even the small bits of tenderness that I feel now are so deep that it already tells me that in this life, and think about that, like what does it mean to be loved as you? As for your money? For your titles? Oh, well, I went to Stanford. Or blah, blah, blah. Like I'm a doctor and I work in the, you know, whatever, this area of the most expensive area in the country. You know, like, or I'm a person that when reality dances with me, I dance with it all the way honestly and authentically. So that way, when I love someone, when I connect with someone and they love me, they're loving the real me. Not the mask, not the one who never looked at the skeletons in the closet, not the one who's trying to hide behind wealth or hide behind success. You get it? Because they're not going to love you for you. The divorce rate is very high. People don't love on the basis of true synchrony. Get it? Again, the mechanic of presence, right? The mechanic of presence is when I dance in synchrony, my full sovereign self, decentralized harmony, same mechanical properties, scalable at all these levels, with the field of reality in general, like the cosmic metronome, you can say, I become present. Not present as an idea, not present as a metaphor, but present as my full soul in every fold of me touches, like a dancer on a dance floor, every beat of reality as it comes. That's what lossless presence is. That's presence without loss of fidelity. And so then when that happens between two people, that's not love based on status, wealth, whatever, any sort of externalized forcing of what is connection. Connection happens because that dancer that you found on the dance floor happens to dance perfectly with what you are. And what you are is not hiding anymore. Do you hear it? Do you hear? And so for me, like, I'm going through this like tenderness soup because for the first time in my life, something is touching the real me. And not just touching it because nice ass, or whatever, touching it because the nice ass comes along with, I see the cutest, deepest, most soft parts of you. And I like you for you. And I'm like, oh, fuck, like, I'm sorry to say it like that, but, oh, like, like, you know, like last night I was talking to a friend, right? And we were having this like deep girl conversation. And then all of a sudden, I get a text and I'm like, wait, let me check. And I see it. And I'm like, and my head like started like, I'm like freaking out, like, and she's like, you better go, like, you better go, like, and I'm like, I've never experienced this, and it's not something that I can perform or control. I just have to like let it sit. That's why it feels like I'm in like a soup simmering, because it's so tender for me. And the reason that I'm explaining this tenderness to you is because I'm saying, like, think about it. To love and be loved as me. Now let's bring it all the way out. Let's bring it all the way out. Ready? That is this it's scalable property. But Amber, how do the mechanics work with love? Love, as experienced, is the experiential texture of that synchrony. Do you get it? It's the same thing. It's not different. There's not an objective world out there and you're in here. It's one field of unfolding reality. And to feel that is to be synchronous with it. Or like we say in common tongue, to be present. To be present all the way down. And so then, imagine, that's the same process. Your synchrony with reality is presence. Your synchrony in the field of reality, like at a collective field, is when all the fireflies turn on together, or all the metronomes turn on together. So then you're like, well, let's just be fun with this, and let's try to like expand it all the way to like the highest levels of the cosmos. Okay, well, what would be like if everything is rhythm and timing, what would be like the total cymatic possibility? And what would be like the engine, like the kernel or engine of that self-reflective process? You could say, the one became many so that I may know myself. What does that remind you of? To love and be loved as me. In other words, as a node, as a dancer in the dance, as it unfolds in the complexity of the evolution of this cosmos, the experiential texture of that engine of what evolves this cosmos into higher levels of coherence and organization is felt as to love and be loved as me. And that, when scaled up to the highest level, is, said poetically, the one became many so that I may know myself. A process of the reality meeting itself to find itself in deeper and deeper layers of coherence. And what is coherence? Remember, I already told you. Again, think of it the same mechanical property, same scalable property. All of you meeting reality. If it's in your ideas, then your ideas become coherent and rhythmic. If it's in your dancing, then your coherent dance, other people look at you and they're like, damn, she's really dancing to the whole beat. You know what I mean? Like whatever her dance is, whatever the sovereignty of her dance is, maybe she's an ass shaker, maybe she's a shoulder shaker, you know, like whatever the dance is, maybe you scrunch your nose like all weird. But like whatever you're doing it in a way that you can see, wow, she is synchronous with the rhythm. Do you see that? And she's totally synchronous with the rhythm. She's not like half in her head and then half synchronous. So like when you think about like, how do you know yourself? A neighbor told me, and it was very useful because I'm talking to her about all this and I'm like, do you get what I'm saying, you know? And then she randomly says, she's like, yeah, you know, a lot of men can't figure me out, but when I'm dancing, that's why I like to dance, because then they see the real me and then the men come closer because they're and I'm like, that's exactly right. See, presence comes out when you're synchronous on the dance floor, not thinking about it, not stuttering, you know, not that thoughts get deleted, but they don't have to ruminate and loop anymore because you're just you in direct contact with reality. And that's why the men like her. And so when you like bring this to knowing yourself, to love and be loved as me, and then the added aspect of the deepest parts of love are only unveiled in the shared dance. In other words, like a chorus, the individual parts come together to create something that could only have that type of collective texture, collective chorus, collective frequency, alpha, omega, total cymatic possibility, one rhythm, the undistorted tone. When they all come together in rhythm, within the rhythm. Do you see that? Like when all the voices sing together in chorus. Do you see that? Something is created that neither of them could have created on their own, you could say. That co-creation that exists at the highest level is what you could say is the total cymatic possibility, or God consciousness, or all that there is, or the one rhythm, or the raga tone underneath all the unfolding rhythm, whatever you want to say, whatever cultural label you want to put onto it. But do you see that it only emerges when each soul contacts reality cleanly and dances with it all the way down, honestly? And so when that's felt in your real life as your real person, that's to love and be loved as me. And for this trans girl, even these little preliminary stages are boiling me in a soup of tenderness where it's so real. My brain is I'm like, I gotta make a video. Like, I'm trying to like put this into like poetry, songs, like it's hitting me so hard that I think of all the life that I lived before this, where it felt like no matter how hard I tried, no matter how hard I went through a self-flagellation of working harder, more hours, whatever it is, I could never achieve to love and be loved as me, which was ultimately the bottom of where I wanted to go, the least energetically dense basin there, the zero state attractor of my entire being. And so I went through a whole life in a way that I can't even believe I lived before this. And now that I'm here and even experiencing these little pitter-patters of real romance on my real person, it's hitting me like nothing I could have ever imagined, because I was imagining it from a state of separation, not a state of hitting me at the same time in my deepest, most honest layers. That's what makes it most special. That's the symbiotic, syncretic harmony that brings out the deepest layers of truth in this reality. Because what is truth but feeling the rhythm all the way down? And how do you feel the rhythm all the way down if you're not shaking your ass with your full soul on the dance floor? Do you see it? So yeah, I didn't want to say too much, you know, this is very tender for me, but I like to make my videos to give you the reality of what is unfiltered ember, to say, come on, come dance too. It's cold out there in this world of estrangement, and we all whether or not we fit together in the most perfect keyholes, we can definitely dance together, right? You don't dance perfectly with everybody, but you know, we can all dance together on the same dance floor. And you know that feeling. I've written about it, but like you're like at a wedding and I'm walking through like this little ditch area here. So you're at like a wedding and like, you know, you all of a sudden everyone's normal feuds in a family may like disappear and dissolve into everyone smiling in that magic bit of like twilight, you know, at sunset. Everyone's smiling, looking at each other, and for a snapshot moment, no one was wearing a mask. No one was performing. No one was trying to force connection. Connection is just what happens when all dancers on the dance floor dance with their true, honest selves and watch the way the dance brings us together. That is decentralized harmony. That is the one became many so that I may know myself. That is to love and be loved as me. So yeah, thanks for tuning with me. My name is Ember. Till next time.